Hello, good day to you. It's lunchtime now and I'm still out on my walk. So hopefully there's gonna be lunch coming very soon because I'm a little bit tired and my energy is going low. But now I have you here, so hopefully I'll get that extra energy burst to just make my day as splendid as it can be. Enough talking about that stuff. Let's get into it. So you and I are now going to talk about rock stars in code or in software development. So something that you will, unfortunately, I'm afraid to say, you're going to experience is basically the idea that a lot of people they will use the term rock stars or code rock stars and so forth, and there are different flavors of this term, but basically there is, I don't know why, but there is a large amount of people and even entire companies who value the idea of innovative, hungry developers and code rock stars, and some people are actually so pompous that I've actually talked to them that they actually they use the term, we only hire the best. And see, I always thought that was kind of funny, because last time I checked, we are missing roughly, in just the US, 9 million developers. Good luck finding them. Just saying. Hope you're just hiring the best, because if your company needs developers and you're only hiring the best and there's a deficit of 9 million, you really only have the option of stealing really skilled developers from somebody else. And trust me, that's actually what usually happens. There is, I can tell you that I've never ever seen anything like it in any other field. It is actually to the point where a lot of companies they actually have as part of their business strategy to be trendy and attractive workplaces, because it's really the only way that they're going to be able to solve this problem of having too few developers, because there's simply not enough of them. And the thing is that when you talk about rock stars and you talk about all these different skilled people, I want to talk to you guys, and I'm directing this directly to you out there who are just starting out, or maybe you have a year under your belt, or you're not like a super senior super developer. I want you to know that I understand, or maybe you can relate to what I'm about to say, because when I first started out, I was so afraid that I didn't have what it took, or rather what it takes. I was convinced that I wasn't good enough to do, professional programming. And I always had this sensation, because you watch all the tech talks, you watch all the Google developers, and you see, like, to me, these guys are like superstars, like rock stars. These are, the guys who are, and girls, of course, who are leading this world of IT, like the IT industry, forward. They are the people who are basically imagine the React team. How many millions of people are using their stuff that they're making in order to do their own development work? And you have these people talking, you hear them talking, and you start looking at least I did. I looked at myself and I thought, shit, I can't do that. I'm not smart enough, or I don't have the capacity or the ability to do this. There's no way I can do it. And I started doubting my own ability in writing software. Even though I was doing fairly well in school and so forth, that didn't matter, because all I could see was how great these other developers were. And then I saw the job ads, and everybody's saying that you have to have like 5 years of experience, and you have to be a PhD student, or you have to be like super, basically everything is just screaming, or rather, that's how I felt. Everything was screaming to me that you're not smart enough, you're not good enough. Everybody else is so much better than you are. And the reason why I bring this up is because I want to tell you right now that I am not the greatest coder in the world, and that's okay. Now I want you to think about that. This what I just said, and what I said earlier. All right, so no, maybe you're not the best coder in the world, and I'm not either. But there's still a deficit of millions of programmers. We need programmers. We need programmers overall. Like, at some point, you start to realize that maybe it's okay to not be the best programming in the world, and it's even a very subjective term. There are always going to be people who are smarter than you, and you know, there's always going to be people who are how do I put it, who, like, especially employers, like jobs and so forth, where they're basically asking for the moon. They're asking, like, where it's just a ludicrous standard to have. It's think of it as men or women who blatantly just tell everybody else that, oh no, I only date supermodels. If I were to talk to someone like that, I would say, go fuck yourself. Okay, great. Yeah, hopefully you'll have great luck in just dating supermodels. And you know, that's actually a fact. Like, just because, don't get scared just because there are companies out there who are saying that they only hire the best. Let them go fuck themselves. Like, let them. Because the thing is that if they're only hiring the best, it's based on their opinion or their understanding of who the best programmers are. And sure, I might not, you or me, like, we might not be good enough to work at such a place. Does it really matter? Well, it depends. It depends on who you are. Personally, like, for me, it's about being the best that I can be. That's all I really care about. I very rarely compare myself to, or rather, I try not to let like, it used to be that I was scared of not being good enough. I never thought I would be good enough to, like, stand on stage and, like, talk to, like, a bunch of people, like the guys, the developers at Google. Like, I was a dream of mine. It still is a big dream of mine. I didn't think I had what it took, and so I thought, hey, maybe I can do some smaller things. Maybe I don't have to put so much pressure on myself. Let's just start with a small thing and see how that goes. So I did a few tech talks here in Gothenburg, and same when I started programming, and same thing with going into a job or so forth. I realized very quickly that for the most part, all these people, like, around me, like every single one of them, these are just regular people. Like, the developers that you work with, they are not superstars. There's no, like, I've never met anyone in real life or worked with them for an extended period of time where they, how do I put it, where they uphold this type of unreasonable reality that you're sold, that as if, how do I think of it, as a commercial. Think of it as that. Like, when you look at job ads where they talk about just hiring the best, and it's not an easy job, or you look at Google and, like, their engineers on stage and so forth, that is like a commercial. That's not real life. It doesn't work that way in real life. Real life has people who are just as fallible as you are. The most talented people I've ever worked with are fallible. There's no such thing as, like, a perfect master coder who can do it all. It doesn't exist. And if you don't believe me, I'll give you this. The biggest and most popular tools in the world, like Webpack and React and so forth, they still have bugs. These programmers who build these things have to solve bugs. They have pull requests and issue reports on their repositories, which they need to address. So try to remember that even though you may just now be starting out and you don't feel like you're good enough to rub shoulders with the big programming profiles of the world, trust me, most of these guys and girls, they are very humble, and they started out just like you. Most of them are not super geniuses. There are a few of those out there, and they can go fuck. Lucky bastards. Yeah, that's great if you're a super genius. But most of us are not that. But we're not that. Like, we're not super geniuses, and that's okay. Because trust me, if somebody makes you believe that you're not good enough and you can actually do the job and so forth, ignore it and just keep on pushing little by little, because trust me, odds are that you are good enough. Odds are that you don't have to be the best. because anybody who tells you that they only hire the best or they only want to work with the best or so forth, they are kidding themselves, because that's not how, like, or rather that's how I think about it. It's not feasible to have the attitude that you only work with the best. It's not a sustainable way of thinking, because trust me, it's the same thing in a football team. The best football teams or sports team or whatever, they don't have exclusively the best players in the team or like in the world. There's no such team that has the perceived best player of all in the same team. It doesn't exist. There is always going to be somebody who's a little bit better or somebody who's a little bit worse. And trust me, if you want to stay happy long term, don't try to compare yourself so much with what other people are doing. Try instead to do what I try to do. Appreciate the talent and the effort that these people are putting into what they do. Try to be happy for them and be curious about what they do. Ask them about their stuff, and hopefully, if you're really, really lucky, they will teach you some stuff, and then you will get better as well.